Huge news rocking crypto markets this week, from the crackdown in the USA on staking, to Bitcoin, to Ethereum, to Cardano, and much, much more. So make sure to stick around to get all of the goods. Let's start off by talking about the big news out of the USA, and that is that Kraken has been banned from offering staking to US customers. After the grim warning earlier this week from Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, we get this news. The SEC has charged Kraken Exchange with offering unregistered securities and forced them to pay a $30 million fine and to shut down their crypto staking services that they offered to retail customers. It's so stupid. I just can't even. And while it's of course better to stake your coins on your own wallet than keep them on an exchange and stake there, the truth is that these centralized services do fill a very big gap in the market. And if Kraken got hit, then we can only assume that other major US exchanges like Coinbase are also going to be targeted in this situation. Now, the reason the SEC gave is that staking is too close to lending, which is not even remotely true. I'm sorry, but it's not. And the head of the SEC knows this. He literally teaches blockchain at MIT. He knows. The SEC also argued that Kraken should have registered their services with the SEC, but the funny thing is the process to register at the SEC is basically impossible, under the current frameworks anyway. Nothing is ever good enough for the SEC. It's why Americans have no Bitcoin ETF, while like a dozen other countries do. It's good enough for Australians, and good enough for Canadians, good enough for Brazilians and French people and Italians, all this stuff. Nope. Not for Americans. The SEC's regulatory purgatory strategy, it hurts everyday Americans the most, leaving them in the dust, while these opportunities then become only accessible offshore. At the end of the day, a crackdown on legit crypto services in the USA sets the industry back in the USA. And time after time, regulators have ignored the big glaring frauds in the industry and gone after sensible things, legitimate companies offering legitimate services. They have chosen legislation by litigation instead of just laying out a common sense framework that would actually allow crypto companies to have some kind of certainty when operating in the United States. That's the bad news of the week. Let's talk about the good news, because there's a lot of good news happening in the cryptocurrency markets. Bitcoin adoption, for example, is growing. Bitcoin just had its best January since 2013, which shows that despite the mainstream media claiming every 5 minutes, Bitcoin's dead again, Bitcoin's fine. Bitcoin's fine. It's doing just fine, guys. Bitcoin also saw 620,000 new wallets holding 0.1 BTC created since the recent rally on 13th of January. That's a lot of people buying Bitcoin, man. Also, Bitcoin's Lightning Network has reached a new all-time high of Bitcoin locked up in payment channels, with over 5,490 BTC currently there. That's up from 3,350 BTC at the start of 2022. Bitcoin also continues to be adopted as a method of payment. So Pick and Pay, a grocery store, is now accepting Bitcoin in 1,628 stores across South Africa. Nice, I like that. Next up, let's talk about Ethereum. So the Ethereum network continues to get ready for the Shanghai hard fork. This time, Lido Finance has unveiled its plans for the V2 upgrade. The upgrade is going to feature two really big updates for Lido, which are going to enable staked ETH withdrawals and introduce its new staking router architecture. So thus being able to withdraw staked ETH, obviously it's the most anticipated feature. Everybody wants to be able to get liquidity on that staked ETH, maybe cash out some of the profits from staking. But the staking router also very important. It'll allow the development of on-ramps for new node operators, including solo stakers, DAOs, and distributed validator technology clusters. It's the staking router which will allow Lido Finance to be able to offer so much more utility to the average user. The Shanghai hard fork for Ethereum is planned for sometime in March still, assuming all the testnets continue to go well as they have been. So Lido's timeline is going to be jam-packed between now and April this year with lots of upgrades, as will Ethereum. Code is going to be tested on the Goerli testnet before a withdrawal credential rotation ceremony, and the upgrade itself are set to take place. Very, very exciting times over in Ethereum land. Next, let's talk about Cardano. So Cardano has launched its Ethereum virtual machine compatible sidechain public testnet. A lot of stuff there, but that's what they've done. This comes after the launch of the network's developer toolkit for building Cardano sidechains just recently. The testnet's going to be available for just a short time and will regularly tweaked during its pilot phase. Users can now run token transfers between test environments on this Cardano sidechain, connecting their wallets and deploying smart contracts to it, as well as, of course, decentralized applications. applications. Now, before telling you about the big news for Chiliz, Trader Joe, Starkware, and of course the US economy, I just wanted to let you know real quick about my weekly cryptocurrency investor newsletter. It's called Wealth Mastery, and it is just jam-packed full of alpha to help you find money-making opportunities in this cryptocurrency market. We talk about altcoins with regular reviews, airdrops, testnets, NFT mints, DeFi tutorials, market analysis, and much, much more. Join our over 50,000 weekly readers by signing up for free using the link down below in the description. Next, let's talk about the big news from Chiliz. So Chiliz is a blockchain-based sports token, and it's currently shifting away from being just a token. It's actually rolling out its own layer 1 blockchain called Chiliz Chain 2.0. This is a move away from the Ethereum network to do their own thing, basically. Now, the testnet for this was actually launched in March last year. It's actually a fork of the BNB chain operating on a proof of stake authority consensus mechanism. While not operating on the Ethereum network, the Chiliz blockchain is still going to be Ethereum virtual machine compatible, because of course they are, man. Everyone wants to connect with Ethereum. Everyone wants Ethereum's liquidity and developers and access to all that stuff, but they're going to offer watch to earn games, play to earn games, NFTs, sports events, live ticketing payments, all kinds of fun stuff. It's launching with 11 active validators, and only third-party developers approved by Chiliz are initially going to be allowed to deploy smart contracts to the Chiliz chain. Now, the Chiliz CEO has explained that it was really important for us to see how we go from being just a token to a blockchain ecosystem. The Chiliz chain technically existed since 2019, except that it wasn't a cross system. Now, as we're launching our fan token everywhere initiative, it's going to become more open. Until now, fan tokens were mostly run by us as a utility provider, but with Chiliz Chain 2.0, third-party providers and developers will now be able to add utility on top of us. Pretty cool stuff. Great news for Chiliz. Big development. Now let's talk about Starkware and Ethereum Layer 2 ecosystem. Starkware has announced plans to open source its zero-knowledge technology called StarkNet Prover. Now, this is the engine that Starkware Layer 2 uses to roll up tons of transactions and compress them, making it easier for the Ethereum main chain to scale up. The technology was released back in 2020, and Starkware has been heavily criticized for holding on to the IP for this and not open sourcing the code. But now this is going to allow for any project or network to make use of the technology. It's already, of course, being used by Immutable X, by Sorari, by DYDX. So it makes sense to open it up fully. It's about time. You got to do it. You know, people are still going to use Starkware. People are going to use Starkware more, in fact. Starkware's head of product couldn't give a timeline for when that change exactly is going to happen, but they said after the token launch and decentralization of Starknet itself, he agreed, however, that it would be possible to see happening this year. Starkware has also partnered with Chainlink to integrate Oracle services, because everybody's partnering with Chainlink, man. Chainlink's the cool kid in town, aren't they? Of course, bringing data feeds into that testnet for Starkware. A mainnet integration is also expected to happen in the coming months, so great news for both of those. And finally, for today, are we in a recession or are we not in a recession? Can somebody make up their damn minds about this, man? Come on. That is the question everyone wants an answer to. Well, according to Janet Yellen, the US is not in a recession. She says the US cannot have a recession with the lowest unemployment rate in 50 freaking years. January's jobs report came in hot. A little bit spicy too. Once again, with the US economy adding 517,000 jobs in January, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The US unemployment rate also dropped slightly down to 3.4%, the lowest rate since May 1969. Janet Yellen has said that what I see is a path in which inflation is declining significantly. We're already seeing that, of course, and the economy is remaining strong. And really, that's a path that I believe is possible, and it's what I'm hoping that we will be able to achieve. Fingers crossed, Janet, that you're nailing that one right. Been wrong before, plenty, of course, on stuff, but hopefully she's right this time, because if she is right, then markets could be clear for a good 2023, and I'm rooting for that. Okay, that's it. Subscribe now. See you next time.